My best friend gave me a family heirloom, and I hate it. Hope everyone is having a Merry Christmas. This situation is pretty light-hearted, and I hope y'all can get a chuckle out of it. My best friend James and I have been together since we were 15, so this isn't our first Christmas together. I love James to death, but he isn't the best at gift giving. For example, our first Valentine's Day, he gave me a Snickers bouquet. I'm allergic to peanuts. However, I think this year takes the cake. When it was time to open gifts, my boyfriend handed me 3 boxes. I open the first one and pull out a Hummel figurine. For those whose grandmas don't obsess over them, Hummels are figurines of German children. My nana had a whole case full of them, and they scared the crap out of me as a kid. James looked very excited, so I thanked him and opened the next box. It was another frickin' Hummel. I smile and open the last box, which had not 1 but 2 Hummels in it. My BF got emotional and explained that they'd belonged to his great-grandmother and grandma. They were supposed to go to his mom or sister, but they didn't want them. I can't blame them because the figurines are creepy. Don't get me wrong, I genuinely appreciate the gesture. I think it's sweet that him, however, now we have a problem because James expects me to display them in my apartment. He even made a point to mention that the shelf in my kitchen would be perfect. I don't want to see those things when I wake up at 3 a.m. to get water. Out of curiosity, I looked up how much they're worth. One of the figurines is apparently very rare and worth over $800, and altogether the Hummels are worth a couple thousand. We could use that money to get new furniture or go on a vacation. Of course, I'd never sell his family heirloom without his family's consent. Honestly, if I found out one of his relatives wanted the Hummels, I'd just give it to them. I'd how to handle this situation. James is under the impression that I love the Hummels, and I don't want to hurt his feelings or be ungrateful. Edit, I mentioned in the comments that I put them in a box for safety, and I'm going to talk to my BF about what to do with them next time we see each other. I'll most likely give them back. I'm not too worried about the situation, I just think it's funny. My best friend gave me some figurines that belong to his great-grandma. I think they're kinda hideous, but apparently they're worth a lot of money. Now for the top comments. In addition to what the other person said, Hummels are also very obviously and recognizably Hummels. The maintenance guy might not know what they are worth, but she might see them and know they are worth stealing and pawning. They're one of those things people just assume might be worth something, and even if they sold it at a stupidly undervalued price, it would still be free money to them. First things first, you should not accept the gift if you don't want it, and don't want to be a steward of them. Your boyfriend should be. You are also never going to be allowed to sell them or suggest selling them without blowback, since these are items with sentiment and ties to list family. Tell him you don't feel right and can't, or won't, accept such a meaningful family gift out of respect for his family, but tell him that when he lives in with you, you guys can appropriately display them. I mean, his grandma and great-grandma, presumably, never knew you, or at least not well, and to be honest, their grandson's girlfriend, whoever that would eventually be, is probably not the person they ever imagined would be inheriting them, you know. Secondly, if together they are worth that much, he should get them appraised and insured. That way, he gets a payout if they are stolen, etc. And if he ever wants to pass them on, they have a starting value. Next comment. Do you live alone with him? Or, like most 18-year-olds, are you living with family, housemates, etc.? I think for now you should tell him you're worried they'll get damaged or destroyed, or that, if any of your guests realize their value, they might vanish. Say you'll be storing them properly in a safe place, and that the two of you can figure out where to display them when you have a shared home. Revisit it then and maybe find a place where they are less obtrusive. If you end up with a decent-sized house in your 30s, you can likely find a place to display them proudly that actually isn't that obvious, or where you won't have to gaze at them every day. We have inherited objects tucked away among nicer stuff in a display cabinet, inherited art on a second guest room wall that isn't really our taste, etc. Given the fact that they are heirlooms, I suggest you don't mention selling them now. If you two end up together long term, then maybe you revisit that conversation at a later point for something meaningful, like the first couple $1,000 you put in a future child's college fund, but don't blow an heirloom on a vacation. If you break up, he'll likely regret it. Even if you stay together, he may regret it at a later point. The truth is, you may well get to a place in the next 5 to 10 years where a couple thousand doesn't seem like that big of an amount, or you may well get to a place in the next few years where a couple thousand is the difference between being homeless or not. But something like this shouldn't be used on a frivolous expense because of the sentimental value. So only bring it up when the need is less frivolous. Next comment. It's very sweet of him to give you those. Please don't sell them, even with the family's permission. You guys are young, and while right now it feels like you might stay together forever, you both are going to grow and change. If you grow in different directions, you're going to be left with furniture for you. Sounds like you live separately, correct me if I'm wrong, and he's left knowing he sold his grandma's figurines that she loved so you could buy the furniture. It genuinely sounds like he himself likes them, and it would probably be heartbreaking for him to lose them. If you keep them, you can give them back to him if you ever break up. And you're acting like these things are the worst thing you could ever lay eyes on. They're not that bad. Put them somewhere on display that you can ignore but still have them up. Relationships involve compromises like this. It's not going to kill you to put them up so he doesn't feel about his gift that he's obviously excited and emotional about. Next comment. Be honest, tell him you appreciate the gifts, but you find them creepy and always have. Let him know that if he wants to keep them to pass them down, then you guys can store them away. Or if another family member wants them, then they can have them. Or even selling them. He probably doesn't actually care about the Hummels himself, he's just probably more excited about getting you a better Christmas gift. I know people may say he should know you and be at least decent at getting you gifts, but some people suck at gifts, no matter how well they know you. I'm that kind of person. Maybe in future years you could give him hints or just a flat-out list of like 10 items you would love to get. He can pick 1 or 2 items off the list and get them for you. Still kind of a surprise since you don't know exactly what you are getting, but it's something you'll definitely want and or need. Next comment. I've been in your shoes before, but with porcelain dolls. I hate them, they are creepy spawns of Satan. But my SO's grandma at the time gave them to me, and they were highly collectible. My partner liked them, and he loved his grandma, so I displayed them for him. But I did explain that I didn't care for them and found them creepy. When he and I split, I gave them to him, as they belonged in his family. Side note, displaying in the kitchen can cause oil buildup and cleaning them wrong can cause some damage. I wouldn't display them there if you did like them. They need to be behind glass, or kept in their boxes until you have a case for them to be displayed in. Next comment. I asked for a Chromecast, and if his brother could get it from the US, so we will pat less even by paying the VAT on it. His brother was like, who don't you want a Fire Stick? 'Cause I hate it? I worked customer support for a streaming service, and we had ton of issues with this sucker. So Bay didn't say, she still wants the Chromecast, can you just get it for her? Yeah, just say OMG, they are too precious, I don't want them to get destroyed, so they will stay in the box. But babe, I just want you to know, I appreciate the kind thought, you might need to know that they are not really my taste. Have you ever told him he sucks at giving gifts? 'Cause you might want to let him know it's best to ask you first. You said you need some furniture, so he could have helped with that. Next comment. When I was 19, this girl has been dating for 3 months gifted me her grandmother's antique oak dining room table and chair set. I lived in a dorm 2,000 miles from home. I had no idea what to do with the table, so I told her I couldn't take it and some aunt of hers took it instead. Eventually we broke up, and it was a week before my birthday. She dropped off my present she wanted me to have, and it was a very rare first edition signed book from an author I loved. She was so extra. Next comment. I think the headline here should be cheap boyfriend spends no money on his girlfriend for Christmas. It sounds like he just walked around his house until he found something that could pass as a gift. I doubt his mother would be happy with him giving away thousands of dollars of collectibles away to his 18-year-old GF. Return them to her, and tell her what they are worth.